how he's killed this beautiful creation. And uh, that's where these two moments collide. We have this moment earlier with this replicant, this character diving through these panes of glass and getting shot by our hero. But then later on, the villain goes back and is asking that ultimate question of self-determination versus predestination, right? He's going to God himself, right? Saying, what am I? Who am I? And what am I in this universe? Where am I? Where is my place in this? You created me. You gave me this, at least this much self-reflection and self-understanding. Now fix it. And in the ultimate lack of justice, what happens is, is God says, no, I'm not going to fix it. There's nothing I can do. So it's just such a fascinating character to me that is taking up multiple levels going on here that is really hard to sort of understand, in one viewing. But I'm amazed by it. It's always really great in the fact that it's just, such a great film. And so, and why I'm always so fascinated by it. Earlier on in another episode, I know I went back to his death soliloquy. But I just kind of wanted to point out that, in that's always been one of my favorite characters in the way that, he is in so many ways, he is the villain. But it's really just so much more complicated than that, right? When you give something life, and then you take away its free will and tell it, you are going to be in this, you're going to fit into this mold. And that life doesn't want to do that. It's very prophetic. I can go on about it for hours, I know, and sound way more erudite than I really am.
Well, I think the character of Decker, I mean, the lead character always being, kind of the, lens that we're understanding the story. It's like he's discovering, as he goes, he's discovering their humanity. Yes. And that's exactly it. Because before they were just targets, they were just skin jobs, nothing. But then, the one he falls in love with, as well as the other one he has a conversation with. And, then, obviously culminating in Roy, he finds out that no, these aren't just, droids. They're not blenders, they're human beings. And when you get past that, the thing that always got me for it is it's not entirely or at all different from human beings. Because even if you have 4 years, even if you have 80 years, you never feel like it was enough. You never feel like you're going to have enough time, and you always have your regrets about what you used that time with. So it could be 40, and we look at God too, and you say, why did you give us this limited understanding? You give us all of these universal wonders, and we don't, and we shout at the sky, and we scream in our prayers, and you don't get an answer. Motherfucker, you're getting a song and you can buy stuff around Christmas time. That is the limitation. That is the limit of the response you're going to get. So his helplessness, kind of, his, desolation, Roy Batty's desolation is kind of where all of us are going to be in that hospital room, or in, the passenger side of whatever car, or face down in our lawn. That's going to be every single one of us. So it's also the thing that makes him great is because it's like, even after this desperate, violent struggle, no, you're going to lose, because in the end, we all lose.
We all lose. No, absolutely. Lose. Absolutely.
Yeah. Father Time's definitely undefeated. 3 clubs time. I got to push back on 2 things. One, the whole sci-fi in the infancy in 1982 when Blade Runner came out, and the whole voiceover. Sci-fi actually wasn't really in its infancy. I understand what you're trying to say, and if you're trying to say the level of popularity in the early part of the decades was definitely moving back into the mainstream, where after Star Wars it really hadn't. But there are multiple movies that had come out that are very influential.
Yes.
In the 70s and the 60s. I mean, you got Planet of the Apes, you got Omega Man, you got Westworld, you got Space Odyssey. I mean, you got Brazil. You got we can keep going. There was a lot even before Star Wars. I mean, hell, Lucas had a movie before Star Wars. that was sci-fi. It wasn't well received because it wasn't a great movie, but I mean, we talked about Logan's Run, so there's a lot of that. And then the second thing is, I gotta say, I always saw Harrison Ford's character going at it a different way. And I felt like the sequel is going to back up what I'm about to say, which is wasn't so much that he was discovering his humanity. I think he was starting to question what actually was humanity and where he fell in it.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's part of it. Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, no, but I'm saying in the sense of like, was he actually a human? Like, I think that's where things started to break down for him, is because I think Batty was starting to convince him that there were other models and that these models were programmed to think exactly the way he was thinking. So really, you can argue any human, same with Sean Young's character, who wasn't a human, but she thought she was all the way through. I mean, I think Harrison Ford's character and frankly, Blade Runner 2049 went in this direction, which was basically at this point in the future that they were creating, in the world building that they were creating. I think Roy Batty was really pointing out to Harrison Ford's character, there have been a lot more changes in the span of time than you may have been paying attention to, and you may be part of that change. And Harrison Ford's character started to really fucking toy with the idea, is he even a human being? So I don't even think it's a matter of humanity and discovering it, because to him, you can also argue it was just as alien as the worlds that Roy Batty had been on when it came down to it. And that's when things started to break down for Harrison Ford's character, and why that's really when he started to question things like, oh shit, that just killed something that's like me.
Well, exactly. And you're absolutely on. And, those are definitely points, and, why Blade Runner is like my favorite movie pretty much of all time. It's so high up there. And
sorry to cut you off, but like the last thing with the voiceover, I mean, it's been well documented. That was also because they just were not making a great movie at the time. I mean, we love it. It was well received, but that voiceover came because of a lot of different compromises. And
absolutely. It's such, to me, that's part of what makes the movie so great, is its story. And I always have a soft spot for movies that didn't fucking know what they were doing. Like, there's something amazing to me when you really have no idea.
Did too much chasing. I would argue Blade Runner would have been a better movie if they just said fuck it all the way around and just try to do their own thing. A lot of those movies in the early 80s tried to chase Star Wars so bad that they corrupted themselves.
But in this case, I really wanted to focus on Roy as Roy as is himself, and what his motivations are and what's going on, and why I've always found that character so fascinating. Of course, absolutely. The points about Deckard and his character, the character played by Harrison Ford, and where he's going in his doubts, and am I a replicant? Am I human? Where does one begin and the other end? Very well documented and fascinating, and things I could go into for hours, trust me. In this particular case, I just found it interesting to just examine it from Roy's perspective. And he knows what he is, but he's asking, can I be more? Right? And why can't I be more? Why am I not allowed to be more? Why am I not allowed to have this? Why am I not allowed to have that? And then literally getting to talk to God, right? As far as that goes, literally
meeting his maker,
to meet his maker, to meet his creator, and basically be told, no, too bad. Nothing you can do about it. So that was where I was taking it from here. But it's just
if you could meet your maker, what would you ask?
Oh God, I have no idea. That stuff is so, I am such a, I can tell you that, I'm an agnostic. Yeah, exactly.
Why?
Right. It would just be why.
Why?
I'm an agnostic.
Why? You're going to make this extremely fragile thing just so it's like, was this a just experiment? Was this a, like, what was the point of this unbelievably ill-fated, desperate experiment called the human race? Because you know how it's going to end, and you know how it started. You created the factors it's going to face, and you understand better than anyone else what everyone else is going, all of the things you made are going to be dealing with and going through, and what their progression is going to be like. So, are you just like that kid that can watch the same kung fu movie 90 times in a row? Like, is this your version of Dragon Ball Z? Like, what is the point? What was the point? I mean, I know because now you're real, so I dig it. I'm going to hell. Totally got it.
Got
But Rashawn said I can ask you a question. So I want to know. I want to know
He gave me the
why.
coupon for Father's Day. Good for one
Why?
question from God.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, I just was briefly, I'm agnostic, so I don't really know. It's like I'm not 100% sure. Not necessarily putting all my chips down on there being the ultimate, but I always go back.
That's what I said, maker.
Yeah, I always go back to the point that the sort of fundamental idea that keeps me sane on any given day is the first law of thermodynamics, which is that energy cannot be created nor destroyed, just transferred between entities. So I just really, whenever it comes to like the deep questions of your maker and all that, I just go back to that idea. And that's as close as I can get to religion. I think it's just it's how I can somewhat try and understand my place and everyone else's place and everything I see is place in the universe, right? I go back to that. To me, that's the most.
If someone's spirituality is getting in the way of someone else's existence, I don't knock it.
Yeah, I mean that's as far as I can go with it. It's like I would be pretty flabbergasted if I got to meet my maker in that regard. So Roy, hats off to you for even having the stones to say
Even
I want
wanting
more
to.
life, fucker. All right. Well, that was existential. That got deep.
I got deep. I got heavy.
That took
That's the point of the movie. It got deep.
Ladies, gentlemen, we occasionally get deep. Occasionally, it's not just about our favorite Transformer, though we can always go that direction, or what was up with Cobra Commander. We can always ask those questions too. We can get in that regard there.
Yeah, I gotta say, Fink, we're definitely acting like the whatchamacallit, the bands to open up the openers before the mainliner who's just hogging the stage.
Oh yes. Well, I was just about to hand over the stage to the headliner tonight.
The mainliner needs to go on. I'll shut up. I'm definitely the guy trying to rap the extra verse. I'll be quiet.
There we go. All right. Well, now that Rashawn and I have exhausted ourselves, we're going to turn it over to the Star Child to hear his thoughts on that villain who was really the hero and why.
I mean, I think a lot about good and evil, so there were a lot of choices for me. Shere Khan from the Jungle Book, kill the humans, do it. Trust me, do it. Ozymandias from Watchmen. I mean, ultimately, he turned out to be wrong because we just realized that a global threat will not unite the human race. But at the time, solid point. The puppet master from Ghost in the Shell. Again, that line between humanity and technology. The emperor from Hero. I mean, it turned out even the good guy at the end realized that the emperor was correct. And Cypher from the Matrix. Completely understand. Yeah, man, who wants to live in that? I don't want that. Yeah, so yeah, absolutely 100% true. But I am going to go with Daenerys from Game of Thrones. Now, obviously spoilers for everybody, and we know the whole story that there was supposed to be more books and the writing in the last few seasons got weaker. We know that, all right? But, just spoiler alert, we're going to go with the show that we got. And it's going to be two-pronged because first, a lot of people don't agree that she was a villain and that her turn to being a villain was done properly. And I disagree. I have to open with the fact that I didn't like the character at first. I could tell right off the bat that she was a tyrant, and then I love the character from a story perspective. She definitely believed that she was a good character, freeing slaves, killing other tyrants, that kind of thing. But she's was used and abused. She was sold. She was raped most of her life. Her only family member treated her like shit. She only understood betrayal and abuse. And all she knows is stories of her family being brutally killed, right? So this woman, she's powerless cattle. Like the way that she understands the world, right? And that's a very telling mark. So she goes on. essentially every cruel step she takes